In this episode today, we're going to be discussing the first African Canadian Alderman. And for the listeners, I would love for you to share by email the answer to imin@letsresetnow.ca. So you can email that answer to imin@letsresetnow.ca. You're listening to The Candidates. I'm your host, Carrie Ann Thomas, and I'm giving you the rundown on your candidates for the 2022 city municipal elections. But before we get into your candidates, I said I would give you a quick history back in time of the first Afro-Canadian alderman. Let's get into the first Afro-Canadian alderman. Within an article of the Torontoist.com dated back in 2009, it gives us a lovely history, public history, on Mr. William Peyton Hubbard. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you guessed the first Afro-Canadian alderman in Toronto was William Peyton Hubbard, then you're correct, and you know your Afro-Canadian history very well. That being said, let's get into the article. I'll read it briefly just to give you a little background into the first Afro-Canadian alderman. So, in 2009, so about 2008, a local resident discovered that the historical plaque near 660 Broadview Avenue, erected 30 years ago by the Toronto Historical Board to honor William Peyton Hubbard, the city's first municipal politician of African descent, and it was damaged. Unbelievable! But let me get into the rest of the story. They returned the pieces to Heritage Toronto, who unveiled a replacement marker in 2009 at a ceremony for students at Montcrest School. Over the years, Hubbard has been commemorated in public ceremony, newspaper retrospectives, a biography, and now a second historical plaque. And his story offers insight into the way the lives of prominent citizens can become entangled with the politics of commemoration. The story goes on to say that there is a common narrative shared between them all. The Toronto-born son of a Virginian freed slave, Hubbard worked for 16 years as a cake baker before becoming a cab driver. As he was driving one wintry night, he saved another cab from nearly plummeting into the Don River. A friendship blossomed between Hubbard and the grateful occupant of that cab, newspaperman George Brown, who later encouraged him to seek elected office at the age of 51. He was narrowly defeated in the municipal election of 1893, but made a strong impression with the public and the press. In 1894, Hubbard was elected alderman, the first of 14 consecutive and 15 total terms in office. Over the course of his career, he also served on the Board of Control from 1898 and served as acting mayor on a number of occasions. I do believe his son also went on to serve on the board of the Toronto Transit Commission. So I found that very interesting as well, and I look forward to confirming that information with you. Next, the present day is always exerting pressure in public commemoration. As Thomas Simons, then chair of the Canadian Historic Sites and Monuments Board, said in the introduction to his The Place of History 1997, heritage is the aspirations of the people who made it, and one might add, the aspirations of the people who have chosen to preserve it. Often, it's an act that celebrates more than it engages critiques or controversies surrounding historical questions. Looking at a few instances of public commemoration of Hubbard, each of which highlight different points of emphasis, we can see how each reveals or obscures different aspects of character and gain a fuller picture of Hubbard. So you're more than welcome to check out that work if you'd like to, get into more history about Mr. Hubbard. At the time of his retirement ceremony, celebrating Hubbard's life in November of 1913, there was a painting by W.A. Sherwood which was unveiled. It now hangs in the office of Senior Policy Advisor after years on the wall of City Hall's Committee Room 1. So, councillors, if you are there and have not seen Mr. Hubbard, go and check out Committee Room 1. And visitors, when you're there, certainly pay a visit to that room and check out the city's first African Canadian Alderman. Mr. Hubbard, as noted, was a conservative who brought passion and keen business sense to public life. As a reformer, he fought corruption in government departments and against the misconduct of government officials. That's very important that it's noted in this article by the Torontoist. For many, we know what's in the news of all the controversy that's happening surrounding the various city councillors who are not returning to office, along with the city's connection to giving money to the Black Lives Matter. And there were a few other main issues, such as housing, which we cannot forget as a critical issue that has been on the table and needs to be addressed. Mr. William Peyton Hubbard had a nickname. And even though he was quiet and calm in public, he was a very powerful public speaker who colleagues dubbed the Cicero of the council. That's right. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong. The Cicero of the council. He verbally attacked anyone, colleagues included, who was guilty of misconduct. Hubbard always impeccably researched to ensure the evidence supported his accusations. His outspoken nature and frank honesty, which made for good newspaper copy, also ensured Hubbard developed a positive relationship with the press that lasted his entire life. In 1898, he was appointed to the Board of Control, and it was a powerful four-member cabinet that advised the mayor. That's the board I was speaking to you about. Yes, the Board of Control, a powerful four-member cabinet that advised the mayor and monitored municipal spending. He enforced pressures for democratic reforms, which were partly responsible for getting the body elected by citizens at large rather than appointed by city councillors. And for his efforts, Hubbard was re-elected to the board until 1908 by increasing electoral margins, even topping the polls with 15,035 votes in 1906. He also served on a wide variety of commissions and committees and assumed leadership roles on the Union of Canadian Municipalities and the Ontario Municipal Association. Impressive. Very impressive. This is The Candidates. I'm your host, Carrie Ann Thomas.